Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 2:09 a.m. on this freezing cold Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. Frigid cold. Freezing cold. Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. It is currently 17 degrees outside. I think it was colder earlier. It raised a few temperatures. It raised a few degrees. Anyway, I use some lip balm. Action. We just got home from our friend's little party, a dinner party, about, it's been about an hour and a half now. I was looking at stuff on Audible, and I ordered 2 or 3 new memory cards and 3 new batteries off of Amazon. And I think when they come, I am just going to go take my other batteries to Best Buy and just have my new batteries. The 3 new ones plus the new one that I bought, when was that, about 2 months ago? Because it seems like every battery that I pull anymore goes dead really quick. And some of the batteries that I have are literally only lasting like 20 minutes now, even when they're fully charged. So, that's my plan. Hopefully, these batteries will be better than the batteries that I have right now. I actually couldn't find one of my batteries. I only could find 3. And then I came out to the car and I was looking in my middle console thing here, and I found the 4th battery. So, well, I will tell you about my day in a second, but I want to tell you guys what happened last night that was so interesting. I, talked to my vlog. If you watched my vlog last night, I talked at length about, not having taken time off and all that kind of stuff. And the most interesting thing happened. Like, I talked about it, for a while on here. And these vlogs are so, I'm so thankful that you guys watch these. It really means a lot to me because they're so cathartic for me. Like, sometimes I work out stuff for myself, and then I turn the camera off, and I'm like, sometimes when I tell, an old story or whatever, it's like, maybe I needed to tell that story. It's been a while since I've told it or whatever, or thought about certain things, or, if I'm kind of talking through something on here, it really helps me. And I got done vlogging last night, and 2 things happened. I was talking about being in a book slump, which I'll talk about in a second. I actually made a whole booktube video about that today, but I didn't get up in time because we had to leave for our friend's party, but I'll post it tomorrow. But the other thing that I talked about was not really taking a lot of time off from filming YouTube videos, and that because I love to do this and I feel so blessed that people want to watch my videos, that I just kind of push myself and push myself and push myself. And I got done vlogging, and I kind of had this peace just come over me, where I was like, stop pushing yourself so much. People enjoy your videos, and they're gonna continue to watch. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna, for the month of January, now this is not my vlog, because it is important for me to vlog every day. That is a commitment that I've made to myself. It's a commitment that I've made to this channel. So, I really enjoy it. It's, like I said, it's really cathartic for me. And it's kind of how I end my day, But other than that, if I get up and I feel like making 7 or 8 videos, I'll make 7 or 8 videos. If I get up and I feel like not making any videos at all, I'm not going to make any videos that day. And if I get up and I feel like making just a booktube video, that's what I'll do. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And it was so weird. Like, I was like, why are you so hard on yourself for this? And you know, I have to tell you, this kind of goes back to me getting sober. For those people that, I don't think it just is exclusive to sobriety, but I do think it affects a lot of people that are sober. You know, I feel like I was always behind because, you know, I got sober when I was 22 and a half. So at that time, where friends of mine, you know, like I've shared this story that like 2 of my friends came to visit me in treatment, and they were telling me, you know, it was over the holidays, and they were telling me, you know, I didn't want anybody to come to visit me, and they came anyway, but I can see myself sitting in the cafeteria. They didn't stay for long, and they were like, oh, so-and-so's home visiting from New York, and I was like, oh, what's he up to? And you know, they were like, oh, he and his boyfriend bought an apartment in New York City, and he's doing this, and he's doing that. And then it was like, oh, what's so-and-so doing? Oh, you know, like, he's almost done with medical school. And what I realized was, like, the party had ended, and I didn't even realize it, you know? That I was still partying. Like, I really had no goals or anything, which I didn't. So then when I got sober, and I kind of had this spiritual awakening, you know, and I've talked about this as well, where I was sitting in this meeting, and I was listening to this guy speak. He was actually a younger guy, I think. I used to think he was, like, older, but I think he was, like, not younger, but I think he was, like, 30. And he had, like, this good life as a result of being sober. And I can remember thinking to myself, kind of like as if I was talking to God in this meeting, and I was like, okay, God, if this is the plan that you have for me, if this is what you want me to do, I think this is why I relate so much to, like, the surrender story of Oprah Winfrey. You know, I was kind of like, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, if you want me to stay sober, if you want me to go to these meetings, if this is what you want from me, then that's fine. But then, like, I'm gonna have an amazing life. I'm gonna, like, really have a good life as a result of it. Like, this is gonna be the medium that gets me there. Like, me getting sober is gonna be the medium, you know, to paint my future, to just have this, to have great relationships in my life and good experiences, and I have, you know, I really, really have. But ever since that moment, I always felt like I was behind. Like, my friends were graduating from college 2 years before I was. You know, they were in graduate school, medical school, law school, whatever they were doing before that. Friends of mine that were, you know, had gone to hair school and were working as stylists. Like, they had been working for 4 or 5 years. You know, it was like I was behind on everything. And then when I got into my 30s, my friends that, you know, they were buying houses, and you know, and then it was like in my late 30s, early 40s, my friends, you know, were settling down and getting married and had kids, and some of them were living in $500,000 to $1 million houses, and I'm like, my God, like, they grew up, and I still feel like I'm playing house, living in an apartment, you know, and I don't really feel like I've grown up yet, and I think I was scared of that as well. And I just pushed and pushed and pushed, and, you know, I'm going to get my graduate degree, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and, I always felt like I was behind, and I always felt like I was never going to catch up, and that everybody else was, like, 5 years ahead of me, and I had lost that because, you know, I had been out there using, and I beat myself up for that because I was like, I wouldn't say necessarily ashamed of it. I just felt like it was wasted years, you know? Now, what I know today is those years were necessary to get me to the point where I was ready to get sober, like, if that's what it took, right? But it was hard for a long time, you know, even till just, I mean, God, I don't know, 5-10 years, well, now it's probably been 10 years when my friend said, you know, you always lose by comparison. Like, when you're comparing your life to somebody else, you're always going to lose. You're always going to, you know, come up short because, you you don't ever compare yourself to people. You know, we don't often compare ourselves to people that have less than us. We compare ourselves to people that have more. What I should say myself, that I did that in the past. I compared myself, because I don't want to speak for other people, to people that had more or had achieved more or were in healthier relationships or whatever, you know? I didn't compare myself to people that were 50 and just getting sober, you know? I didn't. And think to myself, oh wow, like, here I am getting sober at 20. I mean, people would say to me, you're so blessed to be getting sober so young. And I think, really? Like, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot, you know? And then, it was either I missed out on a lot or I was missing out on a lot. Like, I couldn't go and do these things because I was sober. Or I missed out on this because I was out using. I didn't compare myself to the people that, you know, were 45 and 50 years old that were getting sober or older. Or I'd feel like, well, they got to use for all this time and I didn't, you know? And I don't know when that started turning around for me. I don't know when that started changing, that I started really understanding that. You know, I'll tell you kind of this I love the phrase, the come to Jesus moments. I don't mean that in a religious way. I mean that more as just a saying, right? When you have like a moment of clarity. But like, I had this moment at my high school reunion when Alex and I went with my friend. It was my 20-year reunion. So this would have been 2010. Long before I was on YouTube. Years before I was on YouTube, you know. And I went, and I was in great shape. We were, you know, Alex and I were working out every day. And physically, I felt like some of the best I've ever felt. And we just were having a lot of fun. And I think to myself, I look at that period of my life and I was like, I didn't really have a lot, you know. Financially, I wasn't struggling. And I didn't want for a lot. But, you know, it wasn't like we were taking multiple trips a year. We were taking one if we were lucky, you know. And it was nothing fancy. We just were happy, you know. And I look at my life today and I think, God, like, we're so much happier now. And then on top of that, I get to travel and do these things and whatever. And it's like, why are you pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing? Like, instead of just, you know, being like, man, just take a breath and relax and enjoy it, you know? Especially when I feel like I've known a lot of people in my life. My dad's a good example of this. Like, my dad worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, right? And, you know, a couple times a year he would take these, like, amazing trips and whatever, but to the point where he almost just, like, loved working, you know? And I would be like, man, he just doesn't really just enjoy life, except for if he's, like, on the back patio with the dogs, you know, looking at the lake or reading a book or whatever. And I just guess I realized, you know, like, what's it all for if you're not enjoying all of it? And, you know, that is why Alex and I take lengthier trips and stuff sometimes. I don't know, but I just, like, after vlogging last night, like, it was just like this huge weight was off my shoulders. I just was kind of like, okay, Peter, like, you're so blessed to have the life that you have. Like, enjoy it, right? Like, and if you get up and you want to just go over and hang out at the kennel with Tanya for an hour, you know, while she's doing paperwork, and just talk to her and, you know, shoot the crap, do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then if you feel like filming 8 videos, do it. Film 8 videos, you know? And, and it just was like this, like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like this moment where I had such clarity. And I woke up today and I had that same clarity when I woke up, you know? I often talk about that outfit that we lay out in high school, this really cool outfit, you know, with, like, you know, you know, leather pants and a velvet jacket. Speaking of velvet, my husband wore his blue velvet pants tonight. But, you know, like in a velvet jacket and like a V-neck t-shirt, you know, and then like, I don't know, a top hat and platform boots, and you're like, this is gonna be the coolest outfit, I'm gonna wear it tomorrow. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, I am not wearing that outfit, right? Like, you're like, no way am I. Like, that does not align with my truth whatsoever. And if I wear that to school, I'm gonna be like so made fun of. I wish I had worn that outfit. I wish I had worn that outfit more. I mean, I'm making that outfit up, but you know what I mean? And I actually remember this, like, do you guys know that cartoon Kathy? I used to read that cartoon a lot. She did a cartoon, one cartoon was like that, where she laid out all these outfits and had leg warmers and all this stuff, and then the next morning she woke up and wore the same thing she always did to school. But it's kind of like that. It's like, you know, these late night thoughts that I have sometimes, and then I wake up and I'm like, yeah, that was a stupid thought when I wake up. But I mean, I'm such an ideas guy. I'm constantly like writing notes down in my phone and emailing myself ideas and whatever, and writing down notes on Post-it notes and writing down notes on lists and all kinds of stuff, you know? But I woke up this morning and that same piece was there, and it just was, you know, like, I don't know, I just felt super peaceful today when I woke up. It didn't feel like forced, and I was like, I would really like to make some videos, but I didn't have a lot of time because we had to get ready for the party. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go get this housewarming present, film that, because I wanted to film it for my Peter Dustif channel to show the florist, because I love that florist. And then I was like, you know, I'm not gonna rush myself, and tomorrow if I want to make videos, I will. And I also, you know, like, was thinking to myself, well, I'm just going to take like a couple days and, like, you know, lay low and not film a whole bunch. And then on Monday, you know, like Sunday night, starting to do my schedule where I go to bed a little bit earlier and try to get a full night's sleep, and then get up earlier in the morning and get stuff done. And I really want to try that this next week to see how I feel, because what's happening is I'm not getting started on videos till like 3 or 4, and then I'm rushing to get everything done. And back in the day, like, I was working on videos starting at like 11 or 12. And I enjoyed it a lot more, you know, and I didn't feel rushed, and I want to get back to that. So that's my plan for the upcoming week. But at the same time, I'm just like, if I wake up one day and I don't feel like doing it, I won't, you know. And so I don't know if I'm gonna make videos tomorrow or not. I'm not gonna even worry about it until I get up tomorrow. But had I not gotten in my car and talked about it last night, I don't know that I would have really had that revelation, you know, of just like float. And the thing is that these are all things that I know, right? Like, these are all, but I've been like that since I got sober, where I just like push and push and push and push and push with whatever area in my life it is, because like I said, I feel behind, you know. I remember going to my high school reunion, that's what I was gonna say, and like, you guys, I just looked at the battery and I was like, it's already at the halfway mark, but it's not yet. Now watch, it'll turn right now that I say that. But I remember going to my high school reunion, my 20-year reunion, and it was outside at this Champs restaurant, and they had like a band and stuff, well, they usually have bands, but I don't think they did they have a band maybe they did have a band that night, I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, it was such a good experience for me. And, well, people, first of all, were so apologetic for how they treated me in high school. I mean, people came up to me and apologized that I didn't even remember going to high school with. It was so weird. And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry that I said things about you in high school. And I was like, I don't remember you. Or they would apologize, and I think to myself, I don't remember them having ever said or done anything to me, you know? And people were so friendly, and people were so nice. The 10-year reunion I went to was kind of a crap show. I mean, it was kind of like everybody, like, let's tell you how great we are at 10 years. And I just was kind of like, this is stupid. But the 20 wasn't that. The 20 was very relaxed. And I can remember people were like, oh my God, you guys have such a cool life, and, you know, like, you're always doing this or hanging out or whatever, and you seem like you're having so much fun and you're so happy. And I can remember leaving there. Like, do you ever, like, you take your happiness for granted, you know? And I can remember leaving there and thinking to myself, because multiple people said something about, like, oh my God, your life seems so much fun and blah, 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 whatever. And I can remember leaving there thinking, my life is a lot of fun. Like, I have a really cool life. I have a, you know, at the time, a boyfriend. I was like, I have a great boyfriend. And we have a fun life together, and great dogs, and on and on and on, you know? And it was like, I can remember feeling that way. And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, do we have Boo and Tucker then? I don't even remember. And I was like, you know, you sometimes don't even recognize it until somebody else says something, you know, like, somebody says, what a blessed life you have, and you think about it, and you think, I really do have a pretty blessed life, you know? I mean, I've always felt that way, that I have had a blessed life, but I think that's where, I don't know, maybe I need to be practicing gratitude even more than just what I'm doing now. Maybe I need to really be, you know, I had said a while ago that I was going to start doing daily gratitude lists and stuff, and I did it for a couple days, and then I mean, like, written gratitude lists. You know, I pretty much on a daily basis, I'll do like an oral gratitude list out loud, but a written one where I sit there and I say, I am truly grateful, like I did in the Magic book by Rhonda Byrne. You know, I am truly grateful for Alex because he makes me happy and makes me feel loved. And then you make a list of 10 things, and then at the end of it, you read it out loud and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. The whole process of that for me is really gratitude in action, and then really acting towards my husband that same gratitude and things like that. It makes it a lot more real. And it's like that, you know, that idea of simple abundance, that just, like, it makes things so much more than they are. And I think I need to get back to that a little bit. So I don't know, last night was fantastic for me in driving around in the car. The other thing that happened, and talking about that, like, I felt like I really needed to talk about that. The other thing that happened was that it's like, okay, so I read these meditation books by Sark. I don't know if any of you have heard of Sark, but it's S-A-R-K. Now, her meditation books and her journals and her self-help books, inspirational books, motivational books are directed mostly towards women, but anybody can really read them. She has one called Living Juicy, and she has another one called Making Your Creative Dreams Come True, which is fantastic, which is a book for, like, if you have, like, these creative ideas, or if you want to be a creative person, or you want to have a creative career, and you're, like, bored in what you're doing, or you want to do something new with your life, read that book. She says in that book, and I love it, right? She says that, because she was a therapist that saw clients back in the day. If you've ever seen that poster in schools that says, like, 101 ways to be an artist, and it's in all different colors, she's the one that came up with that poster. And her books are just fantastic, and she talks about horrific trauma that she experienced in her childhood, and she turns it into, like, it's a very much like turn your wounds into wisdom, like Oprah says. It's like this beautiful things that she does. And so anyway, I have this one meditation book of hers called Living Juicy, but how to make your creative dreams come true. She says in there, and I love this, she says that 15% of the people that she talks to have a creative dream. They just don't know, like, they know what their creative dream is. Like, they want to write a book, or they want to be a ballet, you know, dancer, or they, you know, want to sing songs, or they, I don't know, want to do sidewalk chalk, or, you know, they want to paint, or they want to be an actor in Hollywood, or whatever, right? Like, or on Broadway, or whatnot. But they just don't know how to achieve it. They don't know how to get started. So this book teaches you, like, how to accomplish your creative dreams. She says the other 85 don't have any clue what their creative dream is, but they know that they want one. And so her job is helping them find one and then achieve it. Her books are fantastic. But anyway, she has this one, maybe it's called Daily Morsels, the one I have. Living Juicy is the journal and workbook. And that one is directed mostly towards women. But like I said, you don't have to be a woman to read the books. Like, I've read most I've read most of her books, and they're fantastic. But this one that I have is called Daily Morsels, and it's so pretty, and she has pictures drawn in there and stuff. But she always says in there, give yourself permission to do this, or give yourself permission to that. And I think it's so funny because, you know, so many times in our lives, we don't give ourselves permission to take a nap. Like, there's permission to take a nap slips in this thing, or permission to scream out loud, or permission to pat your own back, or permission to, you know, laugh at yourself, or all these different things, you know. And I think for me, it's like, give yourself permission to not be so hard on yourself, and to enjoy living this amazing life I've been given, you know. It's like I was talking to my friends Aaron and Eric tonight at this party. So tonight when we went to this party, it was like mostly Aaron and Eric and Melissa and Jason and Alex and I sat there and talked. Well, Jason was up for a while, and Eric was talking to some other people and stuff, but like me mostly sat there. So Aaron and Eric and I were talking about shows, and they were telling me about all these shows to watch, and that were really, really good. And so I was like screenshotting these and looking them up and stuff like that. They said The Eyes of Tammy Faye, the movie with Jessica Chastain, was like fantastic. They're telling me about the M. Night Shyamalan show called The Servant that's on Apple TV. And then they told me about Yellow Jackets. They said it's like the best show they've seen in a long time. So I think I'm going to start that. But they're like, I was telling them about the Gwen Shamlin show, a documentary about the Way Down Church. And they're like, oh, well, we'll watch that tomorrow. And I was like, do you guys binge watch shows? And they're like, every Sunday. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yep, we just get a bunch of junk food, and we pick a couple shows to binge watch, and we just sit here and binge watch a show for like 10 straight hours. Like, I would struggle so hard doing that. And what is so funny is I was just talking to Alex, and I said, because we're like 3 seasons behind on Project Runway, and the newest one's out, and it looks really good. And I said, because we haven't seen it, Nina Garcia's on it, Christian Siriano is on it, or however you pronounce his name. And I was like, we should binge watch a season of Project Runway. And Alex is like, we have like 3 seasons if you want to. And I was like, yeah, some Saturday or Sunday we could do that. And he just kind of looked at me like, that's never going to happen. And that's the things that I miss doing. Like when Alex and I binge watched Making of a Murderer, like we had such a blast doing that. So, I don't know. You know, those are the things I need to do more of. And I know it sounds silly that I'm like even having this conversation, but I feel like, and this goes back to me getting sober, I feel like if I'm not being productive in a day, like if I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, or I'm not cleaning something like a cabinet, or putting down the Christmas trees, or making videos, or writing, or outlining something, or whatever, if I'm not doing something productive, then I'm wasting a day. That's how I feel. And I really have to get away from that. Like, it is not, like, I don't feel like that is real healthy, you know? I feel like I'm really hard on myself about that stuff. Do I get a lot accomplished? Yes, I do. And ask me in 2 weeks, and I'll probably say the complete opposite of what I'm saying tonight. But, you know, I don't know. Right now, I'm giving myself permission to relax, I guess. So, but anyway, the other thing that happened that was so funny was I talked about this reading slump, right? And I talked a lot about it in my booktube video, so I'm not going to repeat what I said, because that'll be up today as well when you're watching it. Well, today being Sunday for you guys, I'm going to post it. Oh, you know what? I hope I did not delete it off the... No? Did I render it? Anyway, I don't know. I'm almost sure I did. I think I have to just upload it onto YouTube. But anyway, what happened was I got... And it was late, you guys. Did I get up late last night to vlog? I feel like I did. Yeah, I got up at like 3:30 or something to vlog, didn't I? Look, I just fixed this camera and then it sunk down there again. Look at that. So I was listening to Snowbound by Blake Crouch. This camera. Come on now, camera. Well, I was on Amazon. I should have ordered another one of these beanbag things. There. Please stay. But when so I was listening to Snowbound by Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch is who wrote Recursion and Dark Matter, and he has another book coming out in July, and he wrote like The Pines and stuff like that. It stopped. Anyway, I said this all in my other video, so I'm not going to say it in my booktube video, so I'm not going to say it over here. But I was listening to this book, and it got so good, you guys. Like, unbelievably good. Like, did not want to go to bed and stop listening to this book. It was so fantastic. Oh, I stopped and did a couple cameos. So that took me like 40 minutes. And then I was listening to, because I wanted to make sure they didn't expire. So I did the cameos, and then, if you ever get a cameo from me and I let it expire, you guys, I think sometimes people are like, he didn't want to do it. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that, like, I keep on a Post-it note right next to my computer every day, check cameos, and some days I don't check them for 2 days, and then they time out. So I have to, I think I have like 3 days to do them. So if you ever book a cameo and it expires, if you rebook it, I swear I'll get it to you the second time. But usually I get it the first time. It's kind of weird how they happen. Like, I'll like, because I can see how much time I have until they're due. And it'll say like 4 hours and 11 minutes, and like in a row, like 4 hours and 11 minutes, 5 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I have to do like 5 of them in a row, because if I don't, they'll expire and then I feel bad. So anyway, it's never been on purpose. I think there's only been, ever been one time. Well, there's been 2 times. Somebody asked me, they reached out to me and they got a cameo. I don't think this person even really knew who I was. They got a cameo for me to promote something for them. Like, they wanted me to promote it in a cameo so that they could use it then to promote. And I was like, I'm not comfortable doing. And I messaged them back and I was like, I'm not comfortable doing this. Like, I don't even understand really what you're asking me. And the other thing was, somebody asked for, because a lot of people ask for like advice or pep talks or whatever, and I always say this is just my personal experience based on things I've gone through. And it was a really, really personal thing. And I messaged them, and because I'll get people that will ask me about, like, they'll share their story of like grief that they're going through, and they'll ask me like, what helped with this or what helped with that or whatever. I mean, if people ask me for like others, I just share personal stories of how things I've gone through. That's all I do. But and most of them are like birthday wishes, congratulations on a wedding, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, that kind of stuff. Happy Valentine's Day, that's a big one coming up. And and then they'll include little things that are funny and cute that they want me to do. I have such a blast doing them. They're so much fun. So, and people are so nice to book them. I just really appreciate it. It's so nice. I was going to say something, but I don't want to ruin a surprise for a couple people out there. So anyway, yeah, the only other one that I haven't done was somebody asked me like a very, very like serious, like, response to a pep talk kind of thing, and I messaged them and I was like, I'm not comfortable responding. Like, it wasn't anything personal that they were asking me. It was like they were asking like based on my personal experience, and I was like, you need to be talking to somebody professionally about that. And that was like the only time that I think I've ever had one. I've had some really fun ones, like birthdays I love doing birthdays, and I always kind of start them all the same, and then I try to make them personal for each person. I got to propose to somebody. That was probably the best one ever. This guy reached out to me, and he said, I'm something like he was gonna, like, they were going out to dinner with like her family. Everybody knew but her. And he said something like they were gonna go out to dinner, and he was gonna bring up how much she like loved your videos, and and then get her to talk about you. He's like, I can get her to talk about you to anybody. And then I was gonna like pull out my phone and be like, let me show you one of his videos. And then it was gonna be the cameo, and in the cameo it was gonna be like, hey, by the way, will you marry? And I got to do this, and they emailed me. I think they both like messaged me with a video or something. I can't remember. But she loved it. She loved his idea. That was really fun. I've actually had a couple like surprise things like that. That's the only wedding proposal that I've ever got to do. But I got to do like a bachelorette party before they were all leaving, and they all watched it like before I left. That was fun. Last year for Christmas, I got a similar amount of requests this year that I did last year. But last year for Christmas, it was so funny. I got like, they all came at like, I must have said something in a video or something, because they all came on like the same day. So they were all like, this year, like people like booked them early and stuff. So they all were due like on the same day. And I literally had tons. I just like, I can remember I just sat there and I did like one after another. And I just do it. And then I would like, because I film it on my phone through this app. So, but anyway. Yeah, they're fun though. I like doing them. But anyway, what was I saying about that? What was I saying? Something to do with my book. Oh, because I did those cameos last night. So then I was listening to this book, but by then it was late. It was like after 5:30 or something, and I still had like part of this. I thought I had less of this book than I did, and I still had like an hour and a half or something. And I didn't want to stay up super late. I went to bed late last night, and then got in bed and tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep, and went downstairs, and Alex, like, he woke up, and he was like, are you okay, babe? And I said, I cannot fall asleep. And I laid there for forever, and he was like, I am so sorry. And like, after like an hour and a half of laying there or something, finally at like 8 o'clock, I got up and I went downstairs and pulled like leftovers out of the fridge, and I sat there and I watched the 5th episode of McMillions and started the 6th episode, and then I was like, I've got to go to bed, and tossed and turned again, and then finally fell asleep. I don't even know what time it was, but I slept late today. And then I made that video, and then I made a booktube video on the way back. I made that video at the florist, got it up, got my vlog up, and then I made the booktube video on the way back. And then I came home, and Alex and I started getting ready. And Alex he looked really nice tonight. I mean, he always looks cute, but he looked really cute tonight. He wore these like blue velvet pants and like little sneakers, and then he wore this like white and black kind of like, not sheer or see-through, but just real lightweight material, almost kind of like a silky material. It looked really cute. And then I of course wore a black button down with black jeans and my black Doc Marten boots. It's kind of my go-to outfit right now, because it's really the only thing that looks semi-cute that I can fit into right now. And we went, and it was so fun. You know, I learned this trick with my social anxiety. Well, first of all, you know, my social anxiety is still bad. It's like, it doesn't really go away. I realize this. It doesn't really go away. It just becomes more manageable. Like, I've learned tricks to manage it. And, like, I woke up today and I was like, I don't really want to go to this party. But I did want to go to the party. I just didn't want to work through my nervousness of going. And I really did want to get ready. I don't really like getting ready because I'm always super critical of myself, you know, physically. And so, my ass battery's still good. Okay. So, battery's not at the halfway mark yet. Not yet. But anyway, so we got ready, we go, and we pull up to their house, And it started at 6:30. We got there at just 4 minutes after 7. They said be there by 8 for sit-down dinner. And when we showed up there were a lot of cars on the street. I mean, not a lot. It wasn't a big party at all. And it was a sit-down dinner. There was it was 8 couples, I think. Melissa and Jason came after we did. So, and Aaron and Eric were there. 5 years ago, I couldn't have walked into that party. I would have been so nervous. And if I did, I would have just stood in one area. So I came in with this planter that I had bought. I bought this vase for this plant that I gave them, or that we gave them. And I walked in, and there's people standing. As soon as I walk in, they had a little post-it note on their door that said the doorbell was broken, had just broken, so just come in. So we walked in, and Alex is no social anxiety at all. So we walk in, he's hello, we're here, kind of thing. And I'm oh God, all eyes on us as soon as we walk in the door. So I beelined it right for the kitchen. Now, I had not been to their house before, so we walk into the kitchen, and as soon as we walk in the kitchen, it's all these people standing there, the husband and wife that we were going there for the party, were in the kitchen. They were she was putting appetizers on this table right off the kitchen, and he was cooking, because he's the cook, he loves to cook, and so he was doing this 4-course meal, and so he was putting it all together. And I walked in, and there was this guy and girl standing right there that I had no clue who they were. So this is a trick that I have learned with my social anxiety. And 5 years ago, I honestly don't know that I could have done it. But today, I just pushed myself through it. So I'm hi, I'm Peter, how are you? And, people are always they shake my head, and they're oh, I'm, Susie Smith or whatever. And then Judy Smith, Susie Jones. That's what I'm gonna say. Anyway, Judy Smith's always my example. So then I go around the room, and I go in, and then I kind of casually take off my coat, and I put my bag down. And I'm oh, hi, it's nice to meet you, I'm Peter. And people introduce themselves to me and whatever. Then what happens is, when I go around, and the people that I know, I hug or, shake their hand or whatever. And then by the time that I've made it around the room, it's I've seen, I know everybody. And then I typically go find a place that feels comfortable for me. And at that point, I'm usually not too nervous anymore. I really am not. But I'll find a place that's comfortable for me. Tonight it was over by these fish tanks. And I just kind of stood there forever. And Aaron's husband, Eric, he sat there and talked to me. And he had brought some cans of Coke. So he was do you want a Coke? And I was yeah, sure. So he got me a Coke, and we stood there and talked for a long time. And then, so then I said, I'm going to sit down. And so I sat down, and then other people started sitting down at the tables where they had all the appetizers. We were eating appetizers and stuff. It was fun. They had cheese and all kinds of stuff. And then I think probably there was half the couples that were there, and then the other couples came in. And yeah, it was just real fun. We were there for a long time. We didn't leave there until it was after midnight when we left, 12:15, something like that. We got there at 7, right after 7, 7:07. It was 7. I think I looked at the clock and said 7:04 when we got out of the car. 7:02 or 7:04. It was something like that. I looked at Erin and I said, "Are you ready to go?" And she was yeah, I'm exhausted. I go, let's go. So, and Melissa and Jason had to leave too to let the dogs out. So, who let the dogs out? Tanya used to call me and she'd be do you want to come help me take the dogs out at the kennel, or to let the dogs out at the kennel? And I'm yeah, sure. And I go, but when she called and asked, I'd say, who let the dogs out? Who? And we'd sing that, when we went to the kennel. But anyway, it was really fun. So our friend made a 4-course meal. First one was a salad. Second one was beef tenderloin. Third one was shrimp. Fourth one was another kind. No. Second one was this kind of meat that he had been making over the course of like 3 days. Third was shrimp, and fourth was this other kind of steak that he had been making. So, needless to say, Peter nibbled on cheese and crackers quite a bit. That was what I mostly ate, was cheese and crackers. And he made like this sweet potato, mashed potato on the side. I had that too. It was kind of like a little sampling of kind of things. And then he made lavender cheesecake that was delicious. And he like cut it up into little pieces, and they made coffee. So I had a piece of lavender cheesecake, which was delicious. And then he made this really fancy, very cool tiramisu that was like unbelievable. All homemade. It was all really good. It was fun. We had a really nice time. Everybody really dressed up. Like, really dressed up. I would say Jason and I were probably the least dressed up of everybody there. Melissa, who is already tall, she's like 5'10", 5'10 and a half. She wore like these 4-inch YSL heels that she loves. Melissa's favorite shoes in the entire world are YSL heels, and she has like 4 pairs and she loves them, but they're like so high. And then she had on like skin tight like jeggings and a biker jacket. Like a black, really soft leather biker jacket. It was very cool. And yeah, we had such a good time. We actually just sat at these like tables and talked forever. Like this, it was this long, like, you know, fold out kind of dinner table, and they had like a what do you call it, a tablecloth over it, and we just sat there and talked the whole night. It was really fun. It was relaxing. And it was nice because there weren't a lot of people there, and it was pretty low-key. I mean, most of the people didn't come until right at dinner time, I would say. And then, yeah, that's like, because Melissa and Jason came right before that. And it was fun. We had a good time. Took a tour of the house, which was nice. Their house is pretty. It was good. Tomorrow, we'll go to brunch. And I don't know what else. Videos maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Alex said he has a busy week ahead. I do too, because like I said, I'm trying to try a new schedule with my life. So, we'll see how that works. Vlogging a little bit earlier. And, because I can still listen to my audiobook. And somebody asked on the vlog something about, they said their son had a neurological disorder, and they wondered if I was getting like the right kind of sleep or enough sleep. You guys, I get enough sleep, trust me. I mean, like, that's part of the problem, is like I'm sleeping like the dead. I think really what has happened recently was I would like, you know, I used to get up around, 11, 12 or whatever, and I would, like, in the morning, I would wake up a lot because of the light coming in the window. Well, now we have these blackout curtains, and you guys, like, I am out. Like, I am out. Valerie was asking me, and she was like, I don't understand how, like, the blackout curtains with the loft, like, make it so dark in there. Well, at night, the back is, pitch black unless the, what do you call it? The motion sensors go off in the backyard. So it's completely black, pitch black outside. So our room is pitch black. During the day, I face towards that window when I sleep. So it's like I'm facing a dark room. Like, I don't really see the light. Plus, the loft kind of, it makes it so you can't really see down into, like, the window so much. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. So it just is not super bright in the bedroom from that side. It's the window, though, the sun coming right in, where it's super bright. But the other thing is, I stay up, you guys, sometimes. I mean, in all honesty, I stay up sometimes till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I get into bed, and I've never been somebody that can just fall asleep that quick. You know, I'll drive around and listen to an audiobook, and I'll be like, it's so good that I just push and push and push and push and push till like I just can't, you know, stay up any longer. It's like I will never get up the next day. And it's gotten later and later over time is what's happened. I think partly, you know, when we were on lockdown, Alex and I didn't really have a schedule. So I would stay up super late and get up and, you know, whatever. And I never really got out of that schedule afterwards. And, which, you know, that's my fault. And, so I pushed myself and I pushed myself and I pushed myself. And then I stay up super late. And then the next day, I'm like exhausted. You know, and like people will be like, oh, you sleep really late, but I'm like, okay, well, if you think about it, if I get up, let's say 1 o'clock, and I go to bed at 7, and you know, and I toss and turn for half an hour to an hour, it's really only 5 hours of sleep. You know, so what's been happening lately is I have been sleeping longer or taking longer naps, and collectively I'm getting a lot of sleep. So I think I have figured out that I need about 7 to 8 hours of consistent sleep in a row. Like, in a row is what I need. Like, me taking 3-hour naps and 4-hour... Now, this is the other thing. Let's say if I sleep from, like... If I lay down at 11 and I get up at 3, okay, that's 4 hours of sleep, right? And then I go back to bed, let's say, at like 6. And let's say if I get 4 more hours of sleep. Okay, my body does not function that as 8 hours of sleep. My body functions that as 2 separate 4-hour times. Does that make sense? I don't know why, but like I feel like when I wake up the second time, I wake up like I've been asleep for 4 hours, like, and I'm exhausted. So I've got to get on some kind of, I was going to say trajectory. I need to get on some kind of schedule again where I'm getting like a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep in a row. And then I think I'll be okay. But I actually asked my neurologist about that when I just saw him. He was like, I don't think that's a problem for you. He was like, do you feel exhausted? And I said, I feel tired sometimes, but I don't feel exhausted. He goes, but like day in and day out, he said, or is it as a result of your sleep? He said, like, if you get a good night's sleep, do you feel rested? I said, oh yeah, if I get a good night's sleep, then I feel rested. Most times I do. He's like, so if you go 2 to 3 days in a row and you're not getting very good sleep, and then the 4th day you get a good night's sleep, the next day you typically wake up and feel rested. And I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I'm not concerned about that. So. Oh, another question that somebody asked me on there, because I was talking about the Uggs, and somebody said they wanted to know if anybody had any suggestions for vegan Uggs. Well, I Googled it. You can Google anything. I Googled vegan Uggs, and there was like tons of them came up. And there was actually an article that was like 5 of the best Ugg alternatives that are vegan. So there's that out there if you want to Google that and look that up. There was another comment that I wanted to talk about that somebody said something. I don't remember what it was. What was the other comment? I was trying to think about it before I left. It wasn't even anything like big. It was like, oh, I know. So many people were like talking about the train and how I love the sound of the train. I'm so happy because, you know, like, I didn't watch that part back on the vlog. I don't watch the vlogs back. My other videos, I typically, well, my drama videos, I watch back before I post them. And sometimes my other videos, my Peterisms, I don't usually watch back. My booktube, I don't usually watch back. My Peter Does Stuff videos and my drama videos, I usually watch back before I post them. Not always my Peter Does Stuff videos, but my vlogs definitely I don't watch back. And there's been periods where I have watched my vlog back before I post it, but it's long to do that, you know, because these are long videos, as you know, because you watch my vlog, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But anyway, I can't believe this battery is still at the full mast. This is the battery. This is the tricky battery. This is the battery that's like, it's like fully charged all the way across, and then it drops to halfway, and then it goes to dead like that. This is the tricky battery that does this. I know you, tricky battery, because it's almost at an hour, because I'm at 24 minutes on here, 24 minutes and 35 seconds, which means I've been vlogging for, what, 54 minutes at this point, and it's still at the halfway mark. And I don't think any of my batteries go past like an hour and 8 minutes or an hour and 12 minutes or something like that, unless this is the newer battery and this one is like, I don't know, supercharged or something. Who knows? I can't figure out these batteries to save my life. But you know what is so funny about that is, I've never really had this huge fascination with trains or anything like that. I love the sound of a train. There's a lot of sounds that I really like the sound of a turn signal. I love the sound of like the summer when you're driving at night. You can hear because I can remember my dad, like we would drive home from trips or the lake, you know, or whatever late at night on like a Sunday, and I can remember Lane, you know, my dad when I was growing up drove this old Porsche 911, and he had these bucket seats in the back seat, and I would like curl up in these little bucket seats under, like, I can still smell my dad's like sweatshirt, you know, and it was always like fresh and clean, and he would have this like gray or blue folded sweatshirt in the back of his car, and I would like get underneath it, and I'd be like in this little bucket seat all cozy, and my dad would drive home, and he would like hit the steering wheel like this while he was playing country music, and he listened to like Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and those guys. Tom T. Hall, I've talked about that. Let's see if the deer are out here today, first of all. Ooh, the moon is pretty bright, so if they are, I might be able to see them. Don't see them out there. Here, this is what I was going to show you last night that I didn't get to show you, and you're not going to be able to see it. But do you see there's like this path? You can't see it out there, and there's a car coming. There's a path right there, though. And that's sometimes where the deer, like, they go down that path. It's like a very scary path. But anyway, I can remember like sleeping so good, and like, you know, I can remember going from like the interstate to the side streets and knowing that, I think like dogs are like this too, because our, you know, our dogs know this when we go from like, you know, the busier streets to like the neighborhood streets. They know we're getting close to home. They start getting, you know, kind of like ants in their pants. And I can remember that when I was a kid, and I would like wake up when like the road changed underneath the car. But I loved the sound of the turn signal, and I loved, you know, like in the summer, my dad would have his window, you know, down like this, and you could hear like, you know, the wind. I just love sounds. There's something about sounds to me, certain sounds that, we used to sleep on our sailboat, and we would go up there for the weekends, like the clanking of the sail posts and stuff like that. I loved that. And the lapping of the waves, and that's something that like I remember at like my growing up at my dad's house too, because my dad's house is on a lake, and well, it's on a reservoir, but and he's on like the main part of the lake, the reservoirs. Say it again. So anyway, sitting in the grass down there, or on my dad's dock, and you know, like speedboats would go by, and they would cause waves, and just that lapping, the sound of the lapping of those waves, I used to love. I love the sound of a good rainstorm. I mean, I love all those kind of like simple things, like the feeling of, you know, cold dewy grass underneath your feet on like a hot summer night. Love that. Or like when you're walking on an asphalt driveway, and it's like just rained in the summer, and it's super hot outside, and the steam is rising. I love that, and you can feel it on your feet, and it's like your feet are hot, but they're cold at they're like, you know, cooler because of the, you know, at the same time. It's all those things I love. was funny in this book that I was reading, they were talking about the sound of like the soft snow, like hitting this tarp on this tent. I'm not one that's big for camping, so the sounds of anything hitting a tarp on a tent is, you know, not something that I know real well. But anyway, but I was thinking about the sound of like, this car has had it with me. Listen to that. Go, then there's a whole other lane for you. But I was thinking about the sound of like really soft snow. Like I can remember walking through the woods when I was a kid and just stopping and like, you know, I grew up, my house was in the woods, and so we had a creek behind our house, and the creek would freeze, and it stopped. But parts of the creek, the ice would break, right? And so I can remember standing there, and it would be so silent in the woods in the winter. I don't know why, but the winter was always more silent, or the woods were always more silent in the winter than they were in the summer, you know? Animals weren't running around, scurrying around, and, you know, jumping from branch to branch and all that kind of stuff, you know, and running through the leaves. And I would stand there, I can remember in the winter as a little kid, all bundled up in my, you know, coat, my scarf, and my hat, and my mittens and stuff, and I can remember just standing there and watching, like, you know, the creek bubble and ripple through the woods. And I can remember like the snow falling and just being like, I can see it in my head, just almost like it's this painting of all of these trees, these bare trees with just like, you know, 4 inches of snow, just like it had fallen perfectly on these tree limbs and just sat there, you know, perfect. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? If you've ever lived in woods or been in woods like during the winter time, you'll know what I'm saying. It's like perfectly, it just like lays there on the branches. I can remember just standing there and just being mesmerized by how beautiful the winter was in the woods, you know, just absolutely just tranquil and beautiful. And so peaceful and serene, mesmerizing. And seeing like a little squirrel or a bird fly through or whatever. We used to follow the creek in the winter, and we would walk down the creek with our big moon boots on, and there would be some parts that were like super, the ice would be really thick and you could walk on it, and we'd kind of like skate around. You need to have area. I mean, the creek wasn't huge. It was probably no bigger than 6 feet across behind my house, and it wound, you know, but it was a cool creek in Carmel, and it went behind this golf course and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it went pretty far, and there were parts that would get really big and far across. Those were the parts that we didn't typically. I mean, it was like, at that point, it was like 2 feet deep. Like if you got in there and if you fell underneath, I mean, it could have been dangerous. We didn't, you know, we really didn't think much about it. A friend of mine, I've told this story in here before, I won't tell it again tonight, but I got my thumb, I think it was my thumb, caught in an animal trap in the woods. We were like digging through stuff, and we thought we were like looking, and we were far away from my house, and it was in the winter, very cold outside in the snow, and my friend was like afraid to leave me there. I don't remember, I was really young when this happened. I don't know how I knew this kid. I think our parents were friends, and I think it was a friend from tennis or something. I don't really remember, but because I can remember who it was, and we didn't really hang out that much. This must have been one of the few occasions that we hung out. But I remember that, I think it was my thumb got trapped in this animal trap, and I can see it. It was like this old, like, metal, it's like old, it was old and rusted, and I mean, it snapped like that on my hand, and it was like this big. Oh, there's a deer right there on the side of the road, just standing there, literally on the side of on Allisonville Road in Indianapolis. You guys are too crazy. This is not a road I usually see deer on. And I remember, like, I was really serene about it. Like, I can remember I started crying and stuff, and my friend was like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. I was like, so he said he would go home and, like, you know, and so we went back to my mom's house, and my mom must have called my dad, and then my dad came. Maybe this was when my parents were still married, or still living together, I don't know, because I feel like I was really young when this happened. But I remember that I was, like, close, we were in the woods, and we were close to, like, the cul-de-sac of another street that was kind of, like, 3 streets from us away. And my dad, I can remember him driving. I must have known this from when he carried me out of the woods, because I can remember my dad carried me out of the woods into this, he had this Suzuki Jeep at the time, and he had it parked on the cul-de-sac, and we, like, came out of the woods into this cul-de-sac, and it was dark. I remember being in that woods, and this is the weirdest thing. I mean, if you put me into a woods tonight in the dark with it snowing, there is no way, but it was this very, very peaceful moment, you know? And I remember, like, there, like, being a deer, and I wonder if that's, like, I've always had this kind of, like, thing about deers, you know? I feel like they're very protective and serene and spiritual and loving. Almost kind of otherworldly, actually, you know? But I can remember sitting there in the snow and in the cold in this woods, and, you know, the weirdest thing was I wasn't scared. Like, I wasn't scared at all as this little kid in the woods as it started getting darker and darker. And I mean, I don't know, I wasn't scared. I just remember all those sounds, you know, and of the woods at night. You know, I'm not an outdoorsy person today, which is so funny because, I mean, when I grew up, when I tell you that we played in the woods, like, our parents on the street that I grew up on did not tolerate us sitting inside playing video games and being inside. I mean, we were outside. Like, my mom was like, no, you need to go outside. We live in this beautiful neighborhood. We have a woods. You have a cul-de-sac where you can play games. Go outside. You don't need to be inside. We didn't really want to be inside either. Now, I mean, when it was really bad weather or whatever, sure, we played video games. I had an Atari, I had a Nintendo and all that kind of stuff, but I was never really that big into video games. But I can tell you as a kid, I mean, we made forts in the woods with trees, and, I mean, we would do, like, 2 to 3 weeks we would take building these forts. We would have mud fights with each other. You know, my dad built this tree house in my woods, or in the woods behind my house, and we would go through the creek. I mean, one of the biggest things that we would do is we would turn over rocks and find crawdads and stuff. I mean, really, and there was, so that clay in that area, it's like Clay Creek, right? I went to Clay Junior High School, and that's part of why it was called that, was because it's like all of the creek beds there are made of this, like, gray clay. I mean, we would even make, like, we would take this clay out of the woods, and we would sit there, like, on the side, and we would, like, make little bowls out of it, and we would come back the next day, and it would, is it, like, going to go out of focus completely there? We would come back the next day, and it would all harden into these I mean, we made bowls out of this stuff as kids and stuff just by, like, pressing it together. And, you know, we would go, I mean, we were so dirty and muddy as kids running through there. And, I mean, we were in that woods. If we were not in that woods, we were on the street playing a baseball game, kickball, soccer. Me and my 2 girlfriends, Katie and Jessie, were walking up and down the street talking to everybody. I mean, we were outside all the time. But I think back on, like, how much time we spent in the woods when I was growing up as a kid, and it's crazy to me that I don't enjoy being outside more. I will say this, that when I go to Richie Woods and I do videos for Peter Does Stuff videos, like, it reminds me a lot of my backyard. Like that, like, I literally would just walk outside in 5 feet. I was in a backyard that looked like Richie Woods. I mean, we had a huge woods behind us. And, I don't know, I appreciate it more now than I did at the time. I didn't have any appreciation for it at the time. I wish I had. You know, I wish I had this idea that not everybody gets to grow up with like a woods and a creek behind their house. And I was just actually driving by this house in our neighborhood, and they have this huge creek that kind of meanders through their front yard, and I thought, what a fun, and they have this little bridge going over it, and I thought, God, how fun would it be to have a creek in your front yard, you know? And I still think that today at 49, I'd walk out there in that creek. I can remember, like, in the summer, wildflowers growing in the creek bed and stuff, and you'd, like, just see these beautiful flowers, just like, we collect flowers for our mom and stuff like that. My aunt, actually, before we moved in there, it took like 2 or 3 years for them to build our house. I can't remember how long. So my aunt went out there with bags of wildflower seeds. You want to talk about giving a gift to somebody. This is, if you know anybody that lives near a woods. She took bags and bags of wildflower seeds, and she literally just walked through the woods behind our house. I mean, for like a mile. And she just threw these seeds everywhere. My Aunt Kathy. And every summer after that, I mean, I can remember looking out of my bedroom. My bedroom window looked into the woods, and I can remember that. I mean, at night, I could hear, like, because my mom turned the air conditioning off in the summer, and we would open every window in the upstairs to try to get some coolness in. And it would get cool at night because you're in the woods, and so the woods was cool, right? It would drop down like 10 or 20 degrees colder than it was outside. But in the morning when you woke up, oh my God, you'd wake up in bed, and I was like, you know, in pajamas, and I'd be like, I used to wear those button-up pajamas, and I'd be so sweaty because it would be like at 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, it would be, or 8 o'clock in the morning, it'd be 80 or 90 degrees outside. We don't have summers and winters like we did when I was growing up. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, they say it's what, global warming, but it seems to be more than that. I don't know. It seems like a shift in our world or something. That everybody's getting things below and above us, but not us. I don't know. That doesn't seem like global warming to me. It seems like everybody would be affected if that were the case, but... I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe in global warming. I definitely do, but I don't know if I think that that's the reason why our summers are cooler and our winters are maybe... Who knows? Who am I to say? But anyway... I can remember we're standing there and looking out my bedroom window at the woods and just being like, oh my God, there's so many, there was so many flowers. And that is something that I took for granted as well, too, you know, just, it was so beautiful. Remember, the little white ones are my favorites. I remember growing up with a lot of critters around our house, though, too. A lot of daddy long leg. I don't know if do we still call them that? I don't know. A lot of those spiders around our house, and just all kinds of like bugs outside. And I can remember one time when I was in high school, there was a water moccasin, and water moccasins would like go up trees and stuff like that. This water moccasin was hanging from this branch behind our house, and my mom was like inside 2 stories up in our porch that's glassed in, right? Like, there's no way the snake could have possibly gotten in the window at all, and it's like 20 feet away in the woods. There's no way it could have got inside. And my mom called me. I mean, it was this huge water moccasin, you guys. My mom called me. It was probably like 6 feet long. My mom called me, and she goes, I was at my friend's house, and she goes, come home now. There's a water moccasin. I go, where's her water moccasin? She's like, outside the tree. And I can remember I came home, and it was like hanging in the tree, like, and I was like, there's no possible way it can get you. Anyway, my mom hated snakes, mice, any of that kind of stuff. I don't really remember a lot of mice. I just remember insects a lot, and birds, a lot of birds. I mean, we had all kinds of animals around us. We had deer and fox, and, you know, we had a family of raccoon that lived in our tree for a long time, because I can remember everybody. We had a huge beech tree in our front yard, and these, everybody would say that you didn't want to let a raccoon in your house because it would destroy your house. I remember that. And squirrels everywhere, bunny rabbits, all kinds of animals, tons of squirrels, tons of birds. I loved growing up there. It was a fantastic childhood in that house. I mean, there was a lot of things that were miserable about it. My mom's drinking and being afraid of that and whatever, but there was a lot of really great things that happened too. battery just went to the halfway mark. I wonder if it's going to start flashing soon and say it's dead as it goes out of focus on me. Come on now. A couple years ago, the house was for sale. And did you see that star up there? Is that a plane or a star? The house was for sale, and I wanted to go inside and look at it, but it sold before Caroline and I could go look at it. And she said the next time if it ever went up for sale, she'd take me again. But I kind of wish that I could buy that house back, you know. Part of me felt like that for a long time, that I kind of wished I could have that house back again. And they've redone it, and the basement, like our basement wasn't finished, and we would like roll. My neighbor across the street, Jessie, she and I would roller skate one winter. We roller skated on the cement floor in the basement, and they put a huge deck off the back where the kitchen and the dining room and everything is, and beautiful deck off the back, off the second story. And they really did, I mean, the basement is gorgeous. They did a really nice job on the house. And I was like, man, I would love to buy this house back and live in it. But then I think, you know, sometimes it's like, I don't really, like, I love telling stories from the past. I love, you know, sharing things that I've, you know, my memories and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think I always want to just live in the past, always. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that would make... My battery died. I was like, hold on to that thought. But what I was going to say about, like, if I had bought that house, you know, first of all, I don't think Alex would really have any interest in living in that house, but I was like, I don't know if that house would make me happier or sad, you know? It's like I love my dad's house. My dad's house is beautiful, has a pool, is on the reservoir and stuff like that. But like, if they were gone, I don't think I would want to move into that house. It was different with the condo. I don't even really know how to explain it. It just felt so completely different. I think part of it too is that, like, I don't know how I would feel about my dad's house. With my mom's house, the house I grew up in, I mean, there were a lot of really mixed memories there. You know what I mean? There were a lot of good memories, but there were a lot of really, like, sad memories there too. With the condo, it wasn't really so much like that. Like, the condo was really the beginning of my mom's new life. You know, she moved in, and then 6 months later, she got sober. She moved in while I was in treatment getting sober. So it was like the condo represented this new era for she and I. And I think, like, that's what I like about the condo somewhat. And it really didn't have any ties to the past. You know, if that makes sense. Like, you know, she had stuff that she had in the house and stuff, and I still have some of it in the house, but, you know, it wasn't tied to the past. It wasn't like everywhere you looked, it was this sad memory or that. You know, my mom she was sad in the house that I grew up in. It was a big house, and she was very scared there, I think, and, you know, she was very lonely, and she drank a lot in that house, I think, to deal with her loneliness and her fear. And, you know, they talk about our addiction being formed in 100 forms of fear. And I think definitely part of why my mom drank was because she was so scared, definitely living in that house. And so, I don't know, you know, like, I feel different about the condo. The condo represented my mom's sobriety to me to some degree. I also, the other weird thing is, I don't know how to make, this is not going to make any sense, but, like, as much as that was my mom's condo, I don't associate it with my mom. Like, I don't know, like, every once in a while I can smell my mom there, or I can see her there, but, like, we've moved things around. I mean, it doesn't look inside like it did when my mom lived there. We got rid of the carpet, we put wood floors and slate floors down. I mean, it's just different, you know? So it doesn't really feel to me so much. I think the other thing is, like, my parents built the house that I grew up in. Like, I can remember going out there as a little kid with my dad, and he would have the blueprints, and he'd be looking, he'd say, like, this is where this is going to be, and this, you know, I mean, like, that was, like, a very special thing for them. I can remember my mom looking at condos, you know, and, like, her showing me these condos and being like, which one do you think I should get, kind of thing, you know, when she was showing me, like, the listing, you know. It had been other people's house before ours, you know, and before hers, and so, I don't know, it didn't feel as personal to me. And so then when she was gone and I moved in, it did feel like my condo. It didn't feel like, I don't know. For a long time, I said my mom's condo. You know, it was weird. I would, like, had a hard time not, I would, you know, say, like, you know, I don't know, like, my mom's condo this or my mom's condo that. People would say, it's your condo. Like, why are you saying that? And, so. Funny because I was talking to Tanya about that and about like her house and whatever, and she's like, I don't really have any emotional attachment to my house. I was like, what? The house that I only know Tanya from, you know, well, when I first met her, they were like in and out of the kennel, like they kind of lived at the kennel sometimes, but they had the house already. And she's like, yeah, she's like, now the house that she had before that, the other house that they had before they moved to where they're at now, she was like, that, like, was the house that I was emotionally attached to. And I was like, really? And I've never, like, we've driven by that house, like, one time, because it's way out in the middle of nowhere. And she showed it to me one time, and she was like, yeah, that was the house that I loved. And I think it's funny, the attachments that we make with places, you know? And, I think about that with, like, visiting places and traveling, you know? There's some places that have such meaning to me that I could just go to over and over and over again because I go there and it feels like home, you know? And then there's some places that used to feel like that and it doesn't feel like that as much anymore. Gatlinburg used to feel like that to me. I don't feel like that so much about Gatlinburg again. I'd love to go to Gatlinburg. But if I never went again in my life, I think I'd be okay. I mean, it's so weird that I say that, you know, but like, I don't know, maybe I think it's who you share those experiences with, you know? I don't associate Gatlinburg with Alex. I associate it with my mom and my ex. And, you know, now it's like the places like for Alex and I, it's like definitely the Cosmopolitan and Vegas and Miami, just overall Miami. And, you know, Mexico, Unico. Our bedroom. It's funny the places that I, you know, that. I don't know. I think discovering places together with somebody in a relationship too kind of makes it both of yours, you know. I think that's a special part of being in a relationship with somebody is when you go to a new place and you get to experience that place for the first time with that person, you know, and they've never been there and you've never been. I mean, even if you've been to the city, you've never been to that place before or whatever, you know. That house that Alex and I rented in Fort Lauderdale by the sea, like, that was such a special trip. We had such a good time on that trip, and I don't know if, you know, we'll ever end up back at that house again. There's so many other houses to rent. It was funny because I was talking to Alex about, like, us renting, like, Tanya and I and our friends renting this house, and he was like, why don't you get that house that we got? Like, why don't you rent that house? I said, I already looked. It's not available. He was like, oh. But, like, we would definitely stay there again. It was a great house. We had a really good time there, you know. Well, except for the sewage that was coming up in the shower that they had to come out and fix. Other than that, it was a great trip, but they came out there and fixed it right away, so. It just took like a day for it to all go down the drain and stuff. I think it's fun to discover new places, new restaurants and stuff like that, you know. Like us going to that Sinatra for our anniversary, that will definitely be a special place in the future if we, you know, just was very romantic. And Alex and I have quite a few, I mean, even just in Indianapolis, some of our favorite restaurants, you know, even just, I mean, even just like, you know, well, of course, Patashu, but like, Puccini's we love, you know, that's kind of our little place to go there, and that's like during the week, go there and have some, you know, pasta you know, salads, and like Alex gets a pizza, and that's kind of like one of our places. And even Cheesecake Factory, even though that's like a, you know, a chain, it's like, I don't know. I think it's nice to have your places, and that's changed for us over the years. Like the places, like the restaurants that we go to and stuff, that's changed, but still fun to have like our places. Livery, we love Livery in Indianapolis. That's kind of a special place. We don't go there very often. Well, Alex does with his girlfriend sometimes, but. And you know, like the other day when we went to that Rise for brunch I had never been to before. Alex had been there, but I hadn't. You know, that was really a fun experience. And like doing something new. Like I love that, you know, doing new things with my husband that I haven't done before. It's really fun. So, making new memories. Well, all right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to listen to I'm going to listen to this Blake Crouch book. It's called The Town That Would Not Die or something like that. I don't know. It's really short. It's like a novella. It's like an hour and 16 minutes or something like that. I'm going to listen to that, see if I can listen to the whole thing tonight before I go home and go to bed. And then I'm going to get up tomorrow, and we are going to go to brunch. And then I don't know what I'm going to do afterwards. I may either watch TV shows, or I may make a few videos. I have my BookTube video to put up for tomorrow, and I have this. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I love you. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Sunday. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. And for those that need to hear it, those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Happy birthday, Lena. Love ya. Bye. Love ya. Love ya.